Hi, everybody, and welcome into another exciting episode of the Level Playing Field podcast. Today we have some hot topics to talk about. Up in State College, the sky is falling, and we're going to dive deep into everything that has to do with James Franklin's firing, NIL, how it all plays a part. We're going to touch on the history of Penn State football, Pitt football, how they came into the conferences, how they were independent back in the 80s, and how that all kind of came together to create the situation that we all find ourselves in now. So, and if we have time, we're going to touch on a little private equity money coming into the Big Ten, which can only just, make things worse. So, Dennis, how are you today?
I would tell you, Andrew, they're not too happy in Happy Valley, but they're not too happy in the entire state of Pennsylvania. I mean, Penn State, Pitt, and Temple are three top teams, Division I football teams in the state are just doing terrible. And I would tell you, the main blame to me is the NCAA. Along with the conferences and along with the athletic directors. I mean, the head coaches and the kids, they've had this mess forced upon them. And what young kid is going to say, no, don't give me $1 million? You know what I'm saying to you? What coach is going to say, no, don't give me $7 or $8 million? You hear where I'm going. So this whole paying to play football, especially in the state of Pennsylvania, is a total disaster, and nationwide. I mean, Andrew and I are doing this show here from Pennsylvania, but what I would tell you, this applies to all of your colleges. And I tell you, what else we're going to cover is some history. We're going to talk about Jim Thorpe and a legendary football player by the name of Chuck McNair, who went to church with Andrew, and we're also going to talk. We're going to also talk about our Olympic sports. I mean, 25,000 scholarships are being given to foreign athletes. Now think about that. That's one. If you average out, and my wife done these numbers, if you average out 40,000 a year to go to school, right? Do the math. Times 25,000 is $1 billion a year, Andrew. $1 billion a year, listeners. That's what is being stolen from our volleyball players, from our soccer players, from our lacrosse players, from our hockey players, from all of the Olympic sports, the track and field, field hockey. I mean, it is baseball. It is sick. Every single sport. So we're going to talk about that. $1 billion a year is being stolen from our American athletes, from foreign athletes. And this isn't just Mexican, South American. This is Europe. This is Africa. This is Canada. This is Asia. I mean, there's an invasion into our universities. And let me tell you this, I'm going to touch on this. And here's the thing. These athletes on average are 20 years old. Okay, 20 years old, and our kids are 18. There's so much pressure on these coaches to win. They're going in and watching these world championships. It's pathetic. What is going on in the state of Pennsylvania, Andrew? I mean, there's a lot of history to Pennsylvania football, okay? If you look at Pennsylvania football, the University of Pennsylvania was a powerhouse, okay? Pitt was a powerhouse back in the day. Yale has more national championships than anybody, more than Alabama. So the Ivy League was a powerhouse, okay? Even little Carlisle, I mentioned Jim Thorpe to you guys. Carlisle beat Notre Dame, beat Penn, beat Pitt, beat Penn State. Guess who their tailback was? A guy by the name of Jim Thorpe. Carlisle College. Pretty neat stuff. Some history in Pennsylvania. Legendary. And then you had a fella by the name of Chuck McNair, played at the University of Pennsylvania, right? World War II vet, big time athlete. Went to school with Andrew. Quick, tell him why he went to church. Why he went to church every day, Andrew.
Yeah, that's the best story ever. He was in World War II and said, "God, if you get me out of this, I will go to mass every single day." And I can firsthand knowledge. I saw him sitting in the front row my entire childhood, for sure.
Great cat. And of course they have the best linebacker in the country, is the Chuck America Award every
Yep.
year. Bethlehem, Pennsylvania guy, great cat, played at the University of Pennsylvania. Jim Thorpe played down the street here at Carlisle, in down towards Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. But Pennsylvania has a tremendous amount of history. I mean, little Muhlenberg beat Penn State. Penn State was just an ag school when it first started out, but the University of Pittsburgh was a killer team. They had this coach by the name of Pop Warner, for all you little league football players. He coached Jim Thorpe at Carlisle. So Pop Warner was at Carlisle College, and he ended up getting a job at Pitt, and Pitt had the legendary teams. They had a bunch of national championships in the 40s and 50s, and Pitt transformed and was real tough in the 70s and 80s, okay, where Penn State came on in the 70s and 80s, and this coach Paterno was one of the reasons why he came in the scholarship factor. They started giving scholarships at that time, and that's where the Penns and the Yales and even Navy with Roger Staubach, they started getting scholarship athletes, and there was no professional football at the time, by the way. The Eagles and the Steelers didn't exist, and there was a professional football team in Pottsville. Andrew and I are going to do a show in the next month or two on the history of Pennsylvania football. But I just wanted to start and let you understand that Pennsylvania was one of the core states with legendary athletes and legendary teams, including Carlisle and Temple was tough, back in the day, and things have transpired and have come into this mess that we have today. And they were all independents. Pitt, Penn State, and Temple were all independents. They were major independents. They played every single year, which was great. There was in-state rivalries. I mean, the Pitt-Penn State game, wow, what a game it was. I played in it. It was, 100,000+ people, national TV, Thanksgiving weekend, national championship riding on the 4 of the 5 years. I was a fifth year. I was a redshirt guy at Pitt. 4 of my 5 years, one of us was ranked number 1 in the country and had the chance of winning a national championship, and it came down to the Pitt-Penn State game.
That was more of the rivalry itself. It's not only just the teams versus the teams, but we're going to keep our rival out of the national title game.
Of course, and there was always a big fist fight. Look, if you keep track of Pennsylvania football and nationwide, this is in California, Louisiana, Texas, Minnesota, Michigan, Oregon, California, rivalries that are developed in high school, and then they're carried on into college, and it's part of the community, it's part of the recruiting process, is part of the upbringing. And that is one of the things that all 3 of these Division I schools, Andrew, are missing first. Okay. The second thing we spoke about is this whole paying these coaches absurd money, and then at the same time paying the kids, paying the athletes, right? So that has changed. Besides them not playing each other as rivals, which I blame the athletic directors for that. Do you understand? 100% the athletic directors. Then paying these coaches all this crazy money. Who would think? Come on. I know all the old time Penn State guys. I know them all, right? They know all the Pitt guys. We know all the old time Penn State guys. We're all upset. We're all upset that they're not playing each other in that rivalry game, right? And none of them like it, right? The second thing they don't like is these coaches are making $7, $8, $9 million. You understand? And not to put Pitt down, at least, and I think this athletic director is wrong for firing Franklin. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. At least he's got the guts to fire the guy. Pitt's head coach is 2-9 in the last 11 games. You understand? And he can't win a game for all the tea in China. He stinks, and they didn't fire him. Now that guy in Pittsburgh deserves to get fired. I don't think Franklin deserved to be fired, but the problem with the money, Andrew, the problem with the money, and we've talked about this, and we warned everybody. We were the first ones. We were talking about this in the spring, Andrew and I, and we've talked about it on every one of our shows how we got the NCAA these idiots that none of them are former athletes, and they got them in charge. They got them in charge of what, when, and how. And then none of them are former athletes. They don't know about that glue, Andrew. That glue. When you get together as a team, anyone who's competed in athletics, there's so much more to a coach just coaching the kids. There's the together everyone accomplishes more, right? The togetherness, the camaraderie, the friendships that you develop. You understand from the teams, and you spoke about it. And why don't you touch on how the students bond with the players and that whole, we spoke about it, but
it's a whole different dynamic. It's a whole different dynamic now that money has come into it, and it's funny how, like, we've been doing this now. This is our 4th episode, and we've been going back and forth before we started recording and everything, even, but it's playing out right in front of our eyes. And I don't want to say we could see the future or anything, but it's funny how Pennsylvania is literally the epicenter of college football this week because of everything that we've been talking about. How money is just distorting what makes college football great. What makes amateur athletes great. I know I told the story about how when I was in school, me and my friends, we loved watching college sports of all kinds because you can look at those people on the TV and be like, that guy, girl is sitting next to me in economics class on Tuesday. They're walking the same street that I am to get to class. If it's 15 degrees, they're riding the same bus. They're doing this, they're doing that. We're all the same. And now it's not. Now you have guys making millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the collegiate experience isn't the same. You don't get the same benefits from it. You don't learn the same life lessons, and on top of that, you don't get the same benefit of the doubt when things don't go your way, because there's a lot of great athletes out there competing at a lot of great universities across this country. And for example, we're talking about Franklin getting fired and everything, and I go back and forth, Penn State alum and all. And I understand the fact that, his record and all of that with the top 10 teams. But when you look at it from a full holistic perspective, you have to take that record with a grain of salt, because when he got the job, we were coming off close to the death penalty. Nobody said this. People said this program wasn't going to be the same for 10 years. Well, he had us in a Big Ten championship, winning a Big Ten championship in year 3. So I go back and forth with he does need to do better, but also out of those games, out of those 20 odd games that he lost versus top 5, top 10 teams, we weren't favored in any of them. So it's not like he's losing.
And who were they?
Michigan, Ohio State, every single year. Michigan, Ohio State. So you don't have a top 5 program problem. You have a Michigan, Ohio State program problem. And I'm sorry, but they both won national titles in the last 3 years. So
not just in the last 3 years, forever. Forever.
They are
Michigan and Ohio State is another Alabama. Do you understand? They have been national champions and in the running every year for national champions. And I would tell you, if Harbaugh would have stayed there, okay, I mean, all the grief he got, he left. But if he was still there, I played against Harbaugh. I know him. He's a pretty tough cat, him and his brother. I got a lot of respect for those guys. But he's similar to Saban. He just wanted to get out because the football was changing, especially at his alma mater. So getting back to the point you're making, you're right on. Ohio State, I got recruited. Woody Hayes was at our house. Bo Schembechler, the same, man, great guy. Met him, recruited me. And I chose the university. I chose to stay in Pennsylvania mostly because of my mom, but the rivalry, man. I went up my senior year in high school. I went up, they got me sideline tickets to watch the Pitt Penn State game. You understand? Pitt happened to win the game, and there were some monster guys there, a bunch of former wrestlers and just a bunch of great guys playing in that game. And I was like, man, I don't want to leave. Look at this. It's 100,000 people at the game. I want to be part of this, man. You know what I'm saying here? And my older brothers had gone on to LSU. My mom wanted me to stay in state. But Michigan won the national championship the year out my senior year. There I am getting recruited by Bo Shebbeck to win the national championship. You understand? Ohio State, I think, won the year before or the year after, or no, the year before they won. So, and since that time, they were always in the top 10, always battling. So when when Penn State decided he was the athletic director and the head coach, despite what you want to say, when he decided to join the Big Ten, I don't think he knew what he was doing. Do you understand? The Big Ten is the toughest conference. If you look at the big picture, I mean, Michigan and Ohio State has been around forever. Forever they've been around. For Pennsylvania people to think that you're going to go ahead and join in that conference and be able to make any inroads, all it did was take our better athletes out of the state because they wanted to be, and they dropped the Pitt-Penn State rivalry back then too. They haven't played regularly forever. So you lose the rivalry, and you're bringing in Michigan and Ohio State, who's winning national championships, always beating Penn State in general. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? Because they were recruiting nationally before Penn State got in on a national basis. They were recruiting statewide, and we just look at the wrestling programs in the state of Pennsylvania, okay? And that's one of Franklin's errors. That's one of Pitt's errors with that coach, and one of the guy down at Temple. I know the guy. He's a local guy, Keeler. I know him well, him and his brother. The biggest error they're all making is they're not recruiting Pennsylvania. Do you understand? They're part of this stupid NIL and this portal where they think they can get these guys overnight and get them to win games for them, but they're missing the core ingredients of successful football is team. Is together everyone accomplishes more. Team, local guys from Pennsylvania.
First example of that is the Texas A&M team a couple years ago with Jimbo Fisher. They spent the highest number you could possibly imagine for that team. They won like 6 games. They won like 5 games. So it's so simple to lay out. And I think it's really interesting how we can kind of, in this conversation, literally go talk about something that happened 35 years ago, like Penn State joining the Big Ten, and then flip it back to what's happening this week. And it's like we're having the exact same conversation. It's the same thing as because I know that when Penn State joined, Joe originally wanted a conference to be formed with like Pitt, Penn State, Syracuse, all the Northeast schools, Boston College, and all that. Obviously, that didn't happen at the time for whatever reason, but
because of him, he was part of the reason. He was part of the reason, and he wanted to force everybody into it, and rather than negotiating into it, it's like, well, I'm the king, I'm the biggest draw, I'm the big powerhouse. This is what we're gonna do, or all he is, I'm gonna do. You all either agree, or we're gonna go and do. You hear what I'm saying? It takes him to go. He wasn't a great negotiator. And he had the authority to do it, but in hindsight, getting back to where Penn State is right now at this crossroad, it was a bad decision. Do you understand?
For the school, it got all the different programs and everything into a conference, but for the football program and for looking at it with a complete hindsight now, it was a total bust.
And it still is. But why? Because, and listen, it's a superpower. Those two teams, Ohio State and Michigan, are superpowers. I mean, you got Kirk Ferentz, who's a friend of mine. He's coaching at Iowa for going on 30 years. He used to beat Joe Paterno all the time. I mean, Franklin's beating him. So looking at Franklin's advancement, getting back to that disaster with that sick former coach. And the stunt he pulled and the cloud that he hung over the university. Do you understand? And I still think the penalty was wrong. Okay, the NCAA should penalize themselves for the garbage that they're putting these universities and these kids through right now. It's garbage. They should write, and they should give themselves the, what do they call it, the death penalty. They should get
Yeah.
fired. Every one of them, and every one of them should be replaced. And I keep calling for government
Yep.
intervention. I would tell you, the Congress, the Senate, and the President of the United States needs to weigh in on the status and the conditions of what is going on, especially here in Pennsylvania. This great state of Pennsylvania, football is terrible. And getting back to recruiting, uh, Andrew, it's not just foreign athletes coming into Pennsylvania. Pitt's soccer team, girls soccer team has 11 or 12 foreigners on their soccer team, for God's sake. I mean, give me a break. Now, what else? And let me tell you what the former players at Penn State complain about. They complain, and the Pitt guys, there's no one on their rosters from Pennsylvania. I mean, very few of their starters are from Pennsylvania. Do you understand? And not just that. If you look, man, I love all the kids. I mean, the kids are great. The athletes are great at every level. I pray for them all the time. I don't care if they're Asian, African, American, white, black, you name the color, okay? But you can't help to notice Pitt and Penn State and Temple, they're all black guys. I mean, don't white guys play football? I mean, and I don't want to offend anybody by saying this. So what has happened in this state is we got some tough Pennsylvania guys, and most of them are from a different state. Getting back to what you had mentioned about these athletes are coming in on this transfer portal. And these guys are thinking, oh, they got some film on him. He looked pretty good here, and let's just throw them all together and see what happens. But look, if they were African, if they were Polish, Irish, Italian, Syrian, Lebanese, whatever ethnic background they were from, don't matter what colors they have, but they would all come together in Pittsburgh. They'd come together in Philadelphia. They'd come together in State College and in all the places. But they were local brew, man. They were local guys from different communities, but they weren't a bunch of black guys from foreign states, from outside our states that are just getting thrown together and thinking that they're gonna gel and they're gonna come out and win games. That's not going to happen, and it's very apparent.
It's not how it works. And we kind of touched on this before we started recording, how college football, one of the main things that was so great about it is that it was a regional sport. You were regionally representing your university, your state, your region of the country. But the bowl games come around and you have, the Northeast versus the Southeast. You have an out West team like a USC versus an Ohio State from the Midwest. Like, that's what was so great about college football. And now, just like everything else in our country, it's like corporatized. Everything is whitewashed. Everything is coming in, and it's like, all right, one giant conference. And if we want to go into like the private equity now, that there's talks about a $2 billion private equity stake coming into the Big Ten, and how that would just like destroy everything that's going on. They will take this and turn it into the NFL. It's already the NFL. And how we were kind of saying how with James getting fired, James doesn't get fired for what he just did 5 years ago. I mean, people are upset, yes, but now with like the money coming in, now the ground moved underneath his feet. He's still over here trying to build relationships, care about the kids. He always says this, and that was one thing as a Penn State alumni I really did enjoy about James, is that when he went in front of a microphone, I didn't have to think about, like, is he going to say something stupid? He always said the right thing. And, people get rubbed wrong by some of the, like, tactics he does or whatever. But, like, that was more when he was Vanderbilt and then starting out here. But, like, if you, like, look at it over the course of 12 years, he did a fantastic job leading this university and moving it in a positive direction at every chance that he gets. And to have the sport change so much over the course of, his tenure, it's unrecognizable from 12 years ago. And that's why you have a Saban just up and leave. Why you have like an Urban Meyer say, I don't want to do this anymore. Jim Harbaugh, like, I'm going to the NFL. If I'm going to deal with money and people and players, I'm going to deal with older people who can like, maturely go through and realize this is a business. I don't have to walk into a 17-year-old, 16-year-old's, living room, talk to their parents about how I'm going to like help them through this. And then everything just changes because nobody knows what's going to happen. The rules have changed like 6 times in the last 4 years.
But Andrew, what I would tell you, he was a good local
Yeah.
recruiter. I mean, he's a former wrestler himself. He recruited locally. He was in the high schools here in Pennsylvania, in New Jersey,
he got
in Virginia.
That part of it, he got it. He understood that.
And in Ohio, and he was able to use, the tradition of Penn State, great modern tradition. Like I had told you, the big schools in the past were the schools that I mentioned, the Penns, the Pitts, even Carlisle with Jim Thorpe and those guys. But what I will say to you is that he had that down. He's a former wrestler too. He tried to wrestle. Well, not a great wrestler, but I think if you look at Penn State's wrestling program, their success is Pennsylvania wrestlers. You understand? If you look at Pitt, Lehigh, Penn, we have 4 teams, and we have a bunch of smaller schools. The PSAC conference that does Division I wrestling. We're so loaded with athletes in this state, and they're being overlooked now by Franklin because. And on the last show that we did, I wanted to say before he got fired that what an idiot to bring in 3 wide receivers from three different colleges rather than counting on these studs in the state of Pennsylvania. There's a kid from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, right next door to us, right? Kid from Whitehall, Pennsylvania, right next door. They're stars in the NFL. They were stars up in State College. Why did he abandon his?
I think
why did he abandon what was working? Look, there's a saying, and you're going to hear it all the time. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, though. So what I would say to him that was a decision, a coaching decision that he made that he's paying drastically for right now because he got fired. But I would tell you, I think the athletic director should get fired too up at State College because he's the one that forced this money and forced this new system and the NCAA. To me, I look at the package and say it's not these coaches that are failing miserable. Even the Pitt coach, he was doing fine. He had winning seasons, breaking even, and Pitt football has really deteriorated. I think they won a conference championship like 3 or 4 years ago before this NIL crap all started. But they were at least going to bowls and winning. I mean, the guy lost 9 games in a row. I mean, who loses 9 games in a row with paying their quarterback $1.7 million? The Pitt quarterback. So I'm just shifting over just to make the scenario. You understand? Because he's doing terrible too. Since the money's involved, he paid the quarterback $1.7 million. The team, you see the team, the fan. A friend of mine's son is a lineman there, who's not getting any playing time, which I'm upset about. He's a big man. The kid's 6'5", 320 pounds. He's a monster, the kid. But he transferred in there before all this. He went there before all of this NIL stuff. Last year they transferred 3 linemen in, paid him a ton of money, and he's sitting on the bench. You understand? His dad played there. He has pride and wants to play at the University of Pittsburgh. But guess what? This guy's got to win. He's got to win. So what he does, rather than developing the younger guys that have a loyalty to the University of Pittsburgh or have a loyalty to Penn State University or to Temple because they're from the state of Pennsylvania, getting back to what we're talking about, and Franklin's biggest failure to me was exactly what we're talking about, what you brought up. You understand? He forgot what got him there. You understand? The kids in Pennsylvania got him there. The kids in Pennsylvania got Penn State there, got Pitt there, got Temple with their success there. Now, why aren't you recruiting those guys? Why aren't you bringing those kids in like the wrestling guys are? Penn State, Pitt, Lehigh, and Penn in wrestling, all top 20. Everyone knows Penn State's the greatest country in the world, greatest team in the world, and I'm still aggravated with Kale, and I'm going to have a conversation with him eventually about this Japanese kid talking about foreigners coming in and competing and wrestling in the state of Pennsylvania. Come on, that is garbage. But getting back to Franklin, look, he had a winning formula. He pulled himself from a humble career at East Stroudsburg University, an average career at that. He tried to wrestle there, didn't do any good, and he built himself up as a coach, got this job. When Penn State's, Penn State was sort of in the middle of the fence, trying to rebound, and I think he was doing just fine. It wasn't broken, but he tried to fix it. So he's to blame. The athletic director's to blame, and the alumni. All three of them are to blame. Listening to people boo the kids. I mean, come on. The kids do not deserve to be booed. Do you understand? Franklin had that forced on him. He doesn't deserve to be booed. Do you understand? So what needs to happen is all you alumni that were booing, and they're booing in Pittsburgh too. You all need to get together. Stop funding them. Stop giving them any money until they change this whole NIL and get that money that's coming in and spread it out to all the Olympic sports like we're talking about. That and don't none of you vote for any of these changes that Congress or these bills that are trying to be passed, because that money, the only way to solve it is there needs to be a formula that all 100 kids, and we've mentioned this on our show, all those 100 kids that are playing, from Joe Superstar to the average guy, they all get the same amount of money. They all get whatever it is. That's not $1 million and it's not 1,000. Somewhere down more towards 1,000 than $1 million. You understand? But the thing is, and Andrew, let me just finish this point before you go, because it's the jealousy factor that's also factored in. Don't tell me these are all just young guys. They don't have full control of their emotional abilities, and they're practicing. And here's some guy at Pitt to finish. A freshman who ain't getting paid a penny is the starting quarterback. He won 2 games. Do you understand? So these guys are sitting there. They're saying, besides the disruption of what a college kid can do with $1 million on campus, I mean, for God's sake, I mean, there's all kind of garbage. There's all kind of drugs and fun and gambling and all this garbage that's on campus. You name it is there. And you give a kid $1 million on campus, but what they're forgetting about, the other guys are jealous. I mean, you got your backup. You're making $1.7 million at the University of Pittsburgh. Here's a freshman not making a penny, and he's at practice. He's doing all the drills, plays in the fall game and the spring game, and he plays better than the starting quarterback who's making $1.7 million. So in his head, he's saying, "Oh, I'm better than this guy. I can't believe he's making $1.7 million." And guess what? When the time comes, because he's got a chip on his shoulder, he steps in and wins 2 games straight. Do you understand? So that's what's going on across the country. All these guys, these backups are going, man, these guys are making how much? Oh, I'm better than him. I hope he stinks. I hope he fails. Are you hearing me? Whereas before the money factor wasn't there, they're cheering for each other. I'm in row. I'm in line. I'm going to have my day. You understand? The guy in front of me is 2 years older than me. I'm going to support every chance I get. I'm going to be on the team. Now it's like, oh, he's making $1 million. I should be making $1 million. I'm better than him. So the whole jealousy factor, and you see, guys that have never competed in sports don't know this. That's what, and say, you know this. I know this because we've been on teams. We have the camaraderie. We have the friendship. We have the loyalty to each other that comes with it's almost like, being an athletics is almost similar to guys like Chuck Bednarik who fought in World War II. Nothing compared to that, but you get a bond, man. You're practicing together every day. You're beating each other. You're hammering at each other. You're going against each other. You get respect for each other. You get friendship for each other. So that camaraderie and that closeness that these athletes go through is being abolished now because guys are just coming in. They're getting a big paycheck. Do you understand? And the guys that are behind them are jealous and they're aggravated and they're not getting playing time and there's no camaraderie. The kids aren't cheering for each other, and the fans and the students, like you talked about, they're saying, "Oh, this guy's making $1 million."
Well, I think it's really easy too to compare it. So we just saw this happen 10 years ago in the NFL. free agency comes into the NFL, right? Nobody knows what to do with it. They're kind of this is what was happening, and now in 2025 they kind of figured out you can't rebuild your whole team through free agency, right? We know this. It's a fact. If you're a GM and you're like, I'm just going to scrap everything, we're going to bring in a bunch of mercenaries and we're going to be great. And on paper, you will be, but you're not. It never works. Like, I mean, you can maybe find one or two times where it actually worked, but it doesn't. The Eagles with the dream team, all these things, it doesn't work. And now you're doing the exact same thing with less mature people, and that ain't gonna work. It
Look at this idiot. Look at the idiot at North
Yeah,
Carolina.
yeah,
Look at him, Mr. Superstar
yeah.
Belichick, who I used to like. I can't
No.
stand the guy anymore. He thinks he's some superstar. He comes in, scraps. Oh, I mean, North Carolina kids are tough football players, man. I played against North Carolina. Man, we had some wars with them. They had a famous Amos tailback, and they had this guy by the name of Lawrence Taylor, if you remember that name. Yeah, the real tough team when we played against those guys. We beat them. Pennsylvania, us tough Pennsylvania boys. We beat them. We sent them packing. But man, great state, man, great football state.
Yeah.
You understand? And you got this guy, he comes down there, he thinks exactly like one of these GMs or one of these head football coaches. He's just going to go and bring in, I think they said he brought in like 3/4 of the team, all new, scrapped all the guys that were there, all the kids from North Carolina, brought in all these people off this NIL. And he thought he was going to be like some superstar sort with this young chick, the punk is strutting around like, come on, give me a break, man. Where's your morality? Where's your godliness? All the money you made off of football, you punk. Yeah, I want to spit on the guy. You understand? But what I would say to you is that's exactly what you're talking about. You understand? And he has failed miserably, and I hope he loses every game because of what he did to those great kids in North Carolina, who are tough kids, man. And just look at their tradition. We had a local guy by the name of Nate Hobgochitic go down there. God rest his soul. He never started there. He's from Allentown, Pennsylvania. Getting back to the rivalries, Dariff would play Allen, in the rivalries. I don't know, you had your rivalry, but Pennsylvania, you went to Central. There you go.
I was right in there.
The Holy War. So the point of the matter is the rivalries, the camaraderie, the bringing the kids in from that state, like you had mentioned earlier, state against state. This guy goes down to North Carolina, he blew that whole program up. It'll never recover. I promise you. It will never. Well, I shouldn't say never, but it ain't going to be him who makes that program recover. I mean, you watch. There's no one's North Carolina. No one's at the games. No one's at the games. Same with Pitt. No one's at the games because for the reasons we're talking about. That the whole camaraderie, the whole amateur athletic presence has gone to
and that's another important, I think, aspect to it is like you just fired James Franklin, who, I mean, sells out the stadium every single game, right? That's 100,000 people. It does not take a lot. You make one bad hire. So Penn State putting in $700 million, stadium renovations. They got, the NIL now. They're obviously going to pay this next coach big money. They paid Jim Knowles big money. And what happens if you make one mistake? You make a mistake with that hire, you don't win 10 games next year. You don't make it to the playoffs. Now you have 2 seasons in a row that are bad. Now your recruiting falls off. Now people aren't showing up anymore. Now you're in the hole hundreds of millions of dollars because you put the cart before the horse and you fired someone who, all he did was give you 10 wins. And that's what I was kind of saying is like, you have to bake in this expectation that like, maybe you're just going to be bad this year. And maybe that's just what it is. And then next year you can recover and you can pull yourself together because football happens, injuries happen, you have holes in the roster. You can fit a person, you can fit one free agent in. You can't rebuild the whole wide receiver core, but you can put one person in and they can get with the role, with the getting gear and everything. But when you there's a it's a different sport. It's just different, and the fans have to understand that. The administrations have to understand that, and like everything is different. And until we all kind of get with the times, we have unrealistic expectations. Like um, nobody's going undefeated anymore in these 18 team conferences. Everyone's beating each other up, and by the like 2 wins gets you into the playoffs. That's you just got to get into the playoffs. It's the NFL now. It's a different model.
And remember, the Big Ten has monster teams in it. Two of them by the name of Ohio State, and the other one by the name of
And
Michigan.
Indiana is now the number 3 team in the country. There's no more like walkover to you're not granted a win just because because of your logo anymore.
Let me tell you what's funny. That guy who's coaching them was a grad assistant when I was at the University.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was like slapping him around. 30, 40 years ago. Now he's
the big time.
Now he's there. But I'm going to promise you this: as big time as he thinks he is, he hasn't ran into Ohio State yet. You understand? And that's the different factor. Okay, Indiana's new. They got some momentum. Penn State recovered from what they recovered from, and they were in the front row. But here's another thing I want to throw at the audience and get them to understand that if it's just how football was supposed to be without these stupid college playoffs, okay, where number one plays number two, Penn State would have been done last year. They would have had a real good year, had the time to recruit, and they wouldn't have went out and bought 3 wide receivers. You understand? And they might have kept their backup quarterback.
Well, can I go into that really quick? Because that, okay,
I know that's just let me finish this thought. Let me just finish this thought, because I know how you've been talking about this to see what to see what the end results are. But let me just tell you, if football was football the way it used to be, okay, the way it used to be is the polls pick the national champions, right? So now they say, okay, let's get number one play against number two, which I think all it should be. It should be number one against number two. Oregon shouldn't have had to play a team that they just beat. I mean, paybacks are, man. To beat a team twice, especially in college, for all of those reasons you talked about, Andrew, and I talked about earlier, was, man, the kids got pride, man. They're from a certain state, and those Oregon guys beat the Pennsylvania guy. We're gonna all. So the coach is able to use it as fuel. That you get 22 guys have a chip on their shoulders about, they just got beat, they got embarrassed, they put the Pennsylvania boys down or the Ohio boys down. So to ask Oregon to come and beat a team twice, that is so hard to do. People don't realize it's hard for the NFL guys to do. You understand? The college guys, it's almost like, it's so hard. So what should have happened was Oregon should have played the number 2 team last year. That should have been it. But that would have left Penn State in a real good situation. They had a strong year. You understand? And they could have rebuilt. And the guy doesn't go out and get 3 wide receivers from 3 different states. He brings in some young Pennsylvania kids, and they work with them. And okay, they get the flow, and they're part of the team. That they're not just 3 guys that came in from different schools that don't have no Penn State pride or no Pennsylvania pride. Getting back to that quarterback, I'm gonna let you talk about that quarterback. But had it been the old way, I guarantee you Franklin's still coaching, and they don't have 3 losses. You understand what I'm saying? Because those 3 kids that came in, I'm not getting the ball enough, or I can't get this, or I want to get drafted by an NFL team, and there's all kind of backstabbing things going on. Oh, he ain't getting me the ball. I've been there. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not getting the ball enough. I'm not putting on a good enough show, and I should have never came here. And are you understanding? This is what happens when you throw the almighty dollar in, and agree. Rather than the kids playing for the team and playing for the university and playing for the student body, when you start paying these guys, you're thinking about the next paycheck. Who's going to draft me? How do I look on the draft reports by these goofballs that do it on that ESPN, whatever that garbage is? But rather than it being together, everybody accomplishes more, Andrew, it's this mess that they have in the state of Pennsylvania at all the universities, in my opinion, and something's got to change. And that is the alumni, the Congress and the Senate and the president need to step in, and they need to abolish, just put that whole NCAA in the garbage and have somebody take it over. And they need to get that money distributed to all of the athletes and get the same paycheck for a superstar or for the average guy that practices every day. But that's the solution, Andrew. Not anything but that. Okay. Talk about that quarterback.
Well, what you're talking about is what NIL was like originally intended for. That's it. You're able to go out, and if your name is able to garner money, if you're a Heisman Trophy winner, obviously you're going to garner more money than the backup quarterback or the third string guy. That's no one's disputing those facts. So I'm going to ask everyone to step into my personal therapy session here for a second, because I'm just going to let this all out here. So I'm sitting here the other day and I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, in a world, in a alternate universe where everything is just and fine and right. Last year, Bo Prabula had to transfer from Penn State and move over to Missouri.
What position he played?
So he was the backup. So for everyone, Bo Prabula was the backup quarterback for Penn State last year, but he was more than that because he was playing. He was playing. He's from York, Pennsylvania. Loved Penn State. Any interview you ever saw with him, he always just said how much he grew up Penn Stater, wanted to go to college, and it was a dream, absolute dream. So now he is put in a impossible position where he has to transfer. And because Drew announced before, Drew Aller, who was the starting quarterback at Penn State, announced that he was coming back for his senior year. This is before the playoffs started. So the end of the regular season and the playoffs. So now the NCAA, which is just everything that's wrong with sports and with collegiate athletics, says that...
Just 1 second to interrupt. What he should have did, he should have left. He should have left. If he had money coming at him, he should have left and went to the NFL. Look at the mess they made for him.
So let's say, let's just say that. So with the NCAA, which I think I just saw something that they changed the transfer portal. So now that it's the end of January, or they moved the window so that this wouldn't happen again. I believe. I think I didn't read the whole article, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So anyway, so let's say that Bo doesn't transfer. This doesn't happen. The transfer window is after the season, which is like the most logical thing ever, because you would never ask someone to like trade their star player in the middle of the season. And
for athletic reasons too.
It doesn't make any sense. For athletic reasons, for academic reasons, it doesn't make any sense. So this whole thing, so now he is forced to transfer, leaves to go to Missouri. Now he's the starting quarterback in Missouri this year. They just lost to Alabama last week. They're 5-1. So now, in an alternate,
and if that receiver keeps running, I watched that on the highlights.
I know.
If that receiver keeps running and doesn't stop, they're 6-0 and they beat Alabama.
They were that close. So he's legit. He is a legitimate D1 player. So now let's say this: if Bo doesn't transfer in the middle of the season, which he was forced to, if he doesn't do that, Penn State is one play away from basically going to the national title last year. Let's just say that he is that spark that puts them over the top, that allows them to go to the national title game, potentially win it, because they played Ohio State pretty tight last year, and no one knows what's going to happen if it's on the field. So with that, you just sit back and you're like, what could have been? Because now if you sit back and you say, all right, Bo's still here. Now he doesn't transfer because they made it to a national title, or they won the national title. So Drew's out. Drew just became a top 5 pick. Bo's the starting quarterback this year. It's a whole new team. Now you do this whole thing, which causes it's this whole mess. It's just one giant mess that Franklin's not fired. The team's not 3-3. They could move on with a whole new team because all those guys just won a national title. They all go to the league, and it changes the whole perspective and trajectory of the program. And I said this, I think, a week or two ago, where if you, like Penn State did, they mortgaged the farm, they mortgaged the future for this year. So they brought back all those kids, paid them because they earned it. They, leading all time leading rushers. Drew,
They didn't earn it.
you mortgage
They
the
didn't earn
future
it.
and you lose all those recruits. And now you sit here and you're like, what did we get? Nothing.
That's exactly what they did. And guess what? And guess what? That was their athletic director. Yep. That was the NCAA.
Yep.
Who?
And I'm not blaming the kids. If someone's handing you millions of dollars, you can't say no. Like, but this is it. It's crazy. It's just like the whole system is so screwed up.
They can say no. No, they can say no. He should have went into the NFL. No different than the kid from Whitehall did. You understand? So if that money's not coming, he says, all right, it's time for me to go. So he goes, had a great year, makes his money, and he's off to the races. And another quarterback comes in, another Pennsylvania kid comes in, and he would be a star like he just proved he is at Missouri. You understand? They should have won that game, by the way. And he's playing in a real conference. That conference is brutal, you know. So what I would tell you, my brother and some friends of mine played in that conference back in the day to now. It's still, I mean, it's a powerhouse. You understand? But what I would tell you is that's the mess that's being created by the NCAA and by the and by the athletic directors and by the coaches. Okay, and again, it's the alumni, it's our government that are letting this happen. The government needs to intervene. That's how bad it is. In all honesty, it is so bad that it needs to get revamped. And these idiots at the NCAA, man, they need to just resign. I mean, they have to think that they put the death penalty on Penn State University years ago for nothing the kids did, nothing the university did. Do you understand? Some devil, some evildoer, some scumbag did. Do you understand? So they give to the death penalty to and guess what? By accident, they just gave Penn State another death penalty. You understand? Their policy in the whole pay-to-play debacle of Penn State football is to blame. That coach up there, okay, and those kids did nothing wrong, okay.
They moved the goalpost.
It's the end exactly. The NCAA, the conference, and the athletic director put this and made it. Look, we call ourselves a level playing field. They made it an unlevel playing field because money corrupts. The love of money is the root of all evil, according to the scriptures. But money corrupts young athletes. Come on now. So you see what's going on with these coaches now. They got guys jealous of each other. They got guys fighting. They're not. It used to be, okay, let's get in the locker room. Let's get on a knee and let's say a prayer. My football coach, Coach Fazio, at the University of Pittsburgh, we prayed before every game and after every game. We held hands and we kneeled and we prayed together. You understand? So rather than them kneeling and praying together, rather than them being a bunch of Pennsylvania boys and some Ohio and New Jersey guys got in there and a couple out of state, Southern will get in there, get in the mix. But rather than us being a team, man, let's go and win this game for us, for our team, for our coaches, for our fans, for our community. It's fallen into this garbage NFL with the free agency where those guys could give about the community. They could give about the fans. They could give about the coaches. Give me my almighty dollar, and if somebody's making more, I'm going to hold out for $40 million. I want to make 40. I mean, it's disgusting. I think that's one of the lowest points in professional sports. Now it's trickled right down, Andrew, and it's trickled into state college. And again, it's really up to us. And it's trickled down into Olympic sports and amateur athletics, Andrew. Which brings me to my next point. You found this, and 25,000 scholarships a year are going to foreign athletes. I'm like, you brought that up on the last show that we did. My head has been spinning. I've woken up at night thinking about it. All these beautiful young athletes, and you name the sport, tennis. I mean, track and field, okay, water polo. I mean, you name it from A to Z. I could go right down the gamut. 25,000 athletes a year are being imported from foreign countries. I mean, I'm upset. I'm upset that Penn State, Pitt, and Temple are bringing in guys from different states. Let alone, how much more am I upset that we have 25,000 foreigners, Andrew, 25,000 foreigners, and you do the math. My wife said 40,000. The colleges are more expensive than 40,000 today. So if you time some 25,000 scholarships times 40,000, that's $1 billion a year that scumbag NCAA is permitting foreigners to steal from all of these young athletes in all these different Olympic sports. I mean, it makes me, I had a hard time sleeping. It's like it took like a day or two to sink in on me. And then I started doing the math, I'm like, this can't be. And I've done the math some more. I'm like,
it's everything that we're talking about. It's opportunity. That's all we've ever been talking about. It's one word, it's opportunity. So you're saying what's more important than giving a person, a young athlete, an opportunity to change their life? What's more important is winning. And I'm going to win at whatever cost there is. Because now I can pay you. I can go around the entire world. I can scour the globe, and I can find the best athlete that's going to on my investment. And that's it. It's not about me giving you the opportunity to change your life. It's about me winning a game. And that's never what athletics is about. It's about the opportunity to better oneself.
And it's not just that; it's about team. Now, we talked about my daughters played volleyball. My daughters played soccer. My daughters swimming and diving. My daughter was a champion diver. She got a scholarship to go to Bucknell to dive. They have a great swimming program up there. My daughters were rowers. Division I rowers. I have family and friends that are soccer players and the Division I soccer players and lacrosse players. I have a niece that's going to Ohio State to play field hockey on a scholarship. My engineer's daughters went to Ohio State too from Parkland High School, right here. That's our school district. But to think that there's 25,000 less of our American athletes and $1 billion a year that these idiots at the NCAA, and it's them, and it's the athletic directors. They know that are being stolen, literally stolen from our American athletes. And you hit it right on the nose, Andrew. It's all about winning now, right? They got this pressure on them to win now by these bad athletic directors. Okay, they got to win now or they're going to get fired, which is bull. It's about developing. And here's the thing, Andrew. And we're going to do more. We're going to do a lot. We're just getting warmed up on this topic. And all of you folks out there watching that's got daughters and granddaughters and nephews and nieces and sisters and godchilds and the like. I mean, you just got to open up your ears and hear what I'm saying to you. $1 billion a year, 25,000 scholarships are being stolen from our granddaughters, our daughters, our sisters, our goddaughters, our all of the girls in general. So besides, and the men too. So it's our sons too. Let me not just count that out. But here's the kicker. And Andrew pointed on this. They're going and watching them compete in world competition. So these under 20 world competitions, they go to them and they see these athletes from the Netherlands. And I'm talking, from Norway. This isn't just this isn't just South Americans. This isn't just Latinos. This is Asians. They're going into these World Cup championship type of events where all these countries bring these athletes and they sit and they watch them. And now here's the thing. They're all 19, 20 years old because they're mature and they're competing. And our kids are 17, 18 years old, some of them 19 in high school. And this is what they're recruiting them over. So rather than getting one of our 18-year-olds, they're getting a 20-year-old that's 2 years older. And because, and here's how slick they are. Because they didn't start their NCAA education, Andrew, they're still eligible as a freshman. Do you understand? So they're bringing in these foreign athletes that are 20 years old, 2 years older than our athletes in general, and they're able to contribute to their programs immediately. Do you understand? And that's where they're taking away our scholarships. But they're going to find this though too. It's in more instances than not. I mean, Pitt's soccer team stinks. I mean, I watched them play against North Carolina. I believe North Carolina had 2 or 3 foreigners on it. You understand? They had 11 Pitt. They got buried. So that same camaraderie, that same team. You understand? Rather than having a bunch of girls from Pennsylvania and Ohio, and we have studs here. We have great athletes in here. These girls and these young men, they go to clubs. They have dietitians. They have weight programs. We have very, very advanced athletics, not at the level of wrestling, but not too far behind. Do you understand? We have some great coaches in the state of Pennsylvania, some great programs in all the sports, Andrew. And what they're doing is they're disregarding them. They don't even care about them. They're going over and bringing in foreigners to take. Now listen, $25,000, $1 billion a year. It's sick.
Well, it's sick. I think we hit on a lot of good points today, and I hope everyone really enjoyed listening to this episode of the podcast. Remember to subscribe. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify and across all social media channels, so you can check us out. And Dennis, do you have anything final to tell the people?
I would tell you guys, man, I'm praying for on a daily basis, man. I dedicate time to prayer, and I'm praying for all of our young athletes, and that they have the opportunity to use their talent to advance themselves in life, and that's the other thing. These 25,000 scholarships that they're giving out, they're stealing brain power from the kids and from us and from our country. Because those are the engineers and the sciences and the like that they're taking that and exporting that, and also the Olympic opportunities. They're training the enemy. They're training the enemy. So all these foreigners are stealing our Olympic opportunities. So, man, look, faith without works is dead. That's vintage St. James, right? So you gotta stand up for your children, man. You got to stand up for your family, for your friends. You got to stand up for our universities. You understand? You can't just let this happen and watch and complain. Andrew and I are the messengers. We're trying to tell you folks, this is a crisis that we're in from an athletic perspective. And guess who can stop it?
You can.
You. So call your congressman, call your senator. Stop giving to these universities that are participating in this. Call the athletic directors and complain. Just don't sit there and watch, okay? And that's how we're going to change it. We're going to get it back. I tell you, we have one of the greatest athletic systems in the world that so many young men and women have participated in and have had the joy of participating in it. We just got to get this NCAA straightened out, and these conferences and these athletic directors. So man, just stay strong and keep watching us. We're going to keep you guys informed. Okay?
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Until next time. Thanks for listening. Have a good day. Bye.